We live in a society that has transformed solitude into a disease. From childhood, we're bombarded with the idea that being alone is synonymous with failure, social inadequacy, something that urgently needs fixing. If you prefer a quiet evening at home to a noisy party, there's something wrong with you. If you enjoy walking alone rather than being constantly surrounded by people, you're odd. If you find peace in silence rather than constant conversation, you're antisocial. But Jung saw this social pressure very differently. To him, society's obsession with constant connection was actually a form of escape, an escape from encountering oneself. Because being alone, truly alone, requires a courage that few possess. The courage to face yourself without masks, without distractions, without that external validation that keeps us running on autopilot. Have you ever noticed that some of history's most brilliant minds chose solitude? Einstein cherished silence. Tesla avoided crowds. Schopenhauer said that solitude is the fate of superior minds. The truth is that solitude is a necessity for those ready to truly grow. In this video, we'll explore why isolation is essential for your spiritual growth and how you can transform your solitude into a tool for deep self-knowledge. Watch until the end, because what you're about to discover could completely change your relationship with solitude and with yourself. And if this content resonates with you, leave a comment saying, "I choose to embrace my solitude," so I know you've understood the message. Jung called it the individuation process, the path every human being must walk to become truly themselves. And this process doesn't happen in the midst of crowds. It requires withdrawal, introspection, and yes, solitude. Because it's only in silence that we can hear our soul's voice above the world's noise. Think about humanity's great geniuses. Einstein developed the theory of relativity in moments of profound solitary contemplation. Nikola Tesla created his most revolutionary inventions during periods of isolation. Gandhi found his inner strength in moments of retreat and meditation. This isn't coincidence, it's pattern. Creativity, innovation, deep wisdom, all of this is born from that intimate encounter with oneself. But modern society fears this encounter. It prefers to keep us busy, connected, distracted. Because when we stop to look within, when we embrace silence, when we allow ourselves to be truly alone, we discover truths that can be uncomfortable. We discover that many of our choices aren't really ours. We discover that we live to please others instead of honoring our essence. We discover that amid all this rush for connection, we've lost ourselves. Solitude, therefore, isn't the problem. It's the solution. It's the sacred space where we can finally stop running from ourselves and begin to truly know ourselves. It's the laboratory where our true identity can be forged, away from external influences that constantly try to mold us. Jung discovered something fascinating about people who feel the need for solitude. They frequently possess heightened sensitivity to their surrounding environment. This isn't weakness, it's an ability. These people pick up emotional nuances, subtle energies, unspoken tensions that go unnoticed by most. It's as if they have a more refined emotional radar. But this sensitivity comes at a cost. Noisy environments, crowds, superficial interactions, and forced conversations aren't just uncomfortable. They're genuinely exhausting. It's as if every external stimulus is amplified, creating sensory overload that drains vital energy. That's why what others see as social ability, these people experience as an emotional marathon. Your solitude is a protective mechanism for your sensitivity. When you feel the need to withdraw, it's not because you're antisocial or problematic. It's because your soul is asking for a moment of recovery, of internal reorganization. It's as if you need to return to your center to process everything you've absorbed from the external world. Highly sensitive people have a more direct connection to the collective unconscious, that deep reservoir of shared human experiences. They pick up not only what's being said, but also what's being felt, what's being hidden, what's pulsing beneath the surface of social interactions. This is a gift, but also a responsibility. Imagine you're an emotional sponge. Every conversation, every environment, every person you interact with leaves a mark on you. Now imagine trying to live this way without ever having a moment to cleanse yourself, to empty yourself, to reconnect with yourself. It's unsustainable. Solitude, in this context, isn't isolation. It's emotional hygiene. But our society doesn't understand this. It sees the need for withdrawal as a sign of weakness, when it's actually a sign of self-awareness. It's the person who recognizes their limits, who honors their internal nature, who refuses to violate themselves to fit external standards that make no sense for their unique constitution. Hypersensitivity, when properly understood, becomes a portal to deeper dimensions of existence. It's through this that we can access insights that escape common perception, that we can see patterns others don't see, that we can feel life's emotional texture in a richer and more complete way. But for this gift to manifest fully, it requires time for digestion, contemplation, silence. It's in solitude that hypersensitivity transforms from burden to tool, from vulnerability to wisdom. It's there that we manage to separate what's ours from what we absorb from others, that we manage to cleanse our perception and sharpen our intuition. Jung revolutionized psychology by introducing the concept of shadow, that part of ourselves we hide, reject, or pretend doesn't exist. And here's a truth few dare speak. Solitude is where we inevitably encounter our shadow. That's why so many people flee from silence, because it's there that everything they've tried to hide comes to the surface. When you're alone, without external world distractions, without the possibility of losing yourself in others or in tasks, you come face to face with everything you've avoided looking at. The fears you've buried, the anger you've suppressed, the sadness you've denied, the shame you've carried in silence, all of this emerges when you finally stop. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Is it necessary? Completely. Because you can't become whole without embracing all parts of yourself, including those you consider unacceptable. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your raw material for transformation. It's where vital energy is stored that you've wasted trying to maintain a perfect image of yourself. The people who most avoid solitude are precisely those who need it most. They've developed a dependence on external distraction because they're afraid of what they'll find when they stop. But this flight has a price. It keeps you fragmented, living only with part of yourself, while the other part remains in darkness, influencing your decisions unconsciously. Solitude offers the unique opportunity to dialogue with your shadow consciously. It's there that you can recognize your self-destructive patterns, your hidden motivations, your unhealed wounds. But more than that, it's there that you can begin to transform these dark aspects into fuel for your growth. Think of the shadow as a dark room in a house. You can spend years avoiding entering that room, but it remains there, influencing the entire atmosphere of the house. Solitude is like turning on the light in that room. Initially, you might be frightened by what you see, but with time, you realize there's nothing there you can't face. And once you illuminate that space, it becomes an integral part of your inner dwelling. The encounter with shadow in solitude isn't a single event, it's an ongoing process. Each time you allow yourself to be alone with yourself, you have the opportunity to know deeper layers of who you are. It's like peeling an onion, revealing successive layers of complexity and truth. But here's the secret. The more you familiarize yourself with your shadow, the less power it has over you. When you know your blind spots, they cease to be blind spots. When you recognize your self-destructive tendencies, you can make conscious choices instead of being governed by unconscious impulses. Solitude, therefore, isn't just a moment of rest. It's a laboratory of self-knowledge, where you can work with the deepest aspects of your personality. It's where you can become a more complete, more conscious, more authentic human being. Jung identified individuation as the supreme goal of human life, the process of becoming truly yourself, integrated and whole. But here's something he emphasized repeatedly. Individuation is a fundamentally solitary journey. Not because you need to isolate yourself from the world, but because no one can do this work for you. Solitude is the sacred space where individuation happens. It's in solitude that you can strip away social masks, the roles you play, the expectations you carry. It's there that you can ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What do I really want when I don't need to please anyone? What is my truth when I don't need to justify it to others? Individuation requires tremendous courage because it implies taking radical responsibility for your own life. It means stopping blaming others, stopping waiting for someone to come save you, stopping living for external approval. It means taking authorship of your own existence, with all the joys and responsibilities that entails. But society doesn't make this process easy. It prefers predictable people, who fit into categories, who follow pre-established scripts. Individuation, on the other hand, is a process of differentiation, of discovering your uniqueness, and this can be disturbing for those who prefer the security of conformity. That's why individuation frequently begins with a period of isolation, not by choice, but by necessity. It's as if life conspired to create situations where you have no choice but to turn inward. Relationships that end, jobs that no longer make sense, friendships that dissolve. All of this can be part of the process pushing you toward the encounter with yourself. Jung called this the dark night of the soul, a period of deconstruction that precedes reconstruction. It's when everything you thought you knew about yourself is questioned, when external structures that gave you security crumble, when you find yourself forced to find an internal center that is truly yours. This process isn't linear or comfortable. There are moments of confusion, doubt, apparent setback. But it's precisely in this apparent disorder that a new order is forming. It's as if you were being dismantled to be reassembled according to your original blueprint, not according to specifications others tried to impose on you. Solitude during individuation isn't empty. It's pregnant with possibilities. It's the womb where your new identity is being gestated. It's the laboratory where you experiment with different aspects of yourself, where you test new ways of being, where you discover talents and inclinations that were dormant. But for this process to complete itself, it's necessary to resist the temptation to flee back to the known. You must honor solitude as a sacred space, not as punishment. You must trust that something important is happening, even when you can't see the final result. Individuation through solitude is an act of faith in yourself. It's the confidence that you have within you everything you need to become who you really are. It's the courage to dive into the unknown of yourself and emerge as a more authentic and integrated version of who you've always been. There's a fundamental difference between being alone and being in solitude. True solitude isn't absence of company, but presence with yourself. It's a state of mindful attention turned inward, where external silence creates space for more subtle internal voices to manifest. In a noisy society where we're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and distractions, silence has become a rare commodity. But it's precisely in this silence that you can hear the wisdom that already exists within you. Silence isn't empty, it's full of potential. It's like a blank canvas where you can finally paint your own work, instead of coloring within lines that others have drawn for you. It's in silence that you can distinguish between your own thoughts and thoughts you've absorbed from others. It's there that you can separate your true needs from needs you believed you had through external influence. Many of our neuroses and internal conflicts arise from constant mental noise, the incessant chatter of the mind that keeps us disconnected from our center. Silent solitude offers the opportunity to pacify this noise, to create space for intuitive wisdom to emerge. But learning to be in silence is a skill that must be cultivated. Our mind is so accustomed to constant stimulus that initially it may resist silence, filling it with worries, planning, or memories. It's as if it were afraid of emptiness and tried to fill it with anything. The secret is not to fight these thoughts, but to observe them with detached curiosity. It's as if you were a scientist studying the workings of your own mind. With time, you begin to notice patterns, to recognize repetitive thoughts, to distinguish between thoughts that are useful and those that are just mental noise. Silence is also the space where you can access your deepest creativity. It's there that unexpected ideas arise, revealing insights, solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable. But this creativity can't be forced. It must be cultivated through patience and receptivity. Jung spoke about the importance of creating a temenos, a sacred space where you can meet yourself without external interference. This space can be physical, like a special corner of your house, or temporal, like a specific moment of the day dedicated to silence. What's important is that it be a space where you can let your guard down and simply be. In silence, you can also access what Jung called ancestral wisdom, that deep knowledge encoded in your collective unconscious. It's as if you could connect with the accumulated wisdom of previous generations, with insights that transcend your limited personal experience. Silence teaches patience in a culture of instant gratification. It teaches contemplation in an age of impulsive action. It teaches depth in an era of superficiality. It teaches presence in a society obsessed with future and past. There's a crucial difference between loneliness and chosen solitude, though many people use these words synonymously. Loneliness can be an experience of lack, emptiness, painful disconnection. Chosen solitude, on the other hand, is a conscious choice to be with yourself in a nourishing and transformative way. This doesn't happen automatically. It requires intention, practice, and a fundamental shift in perspective. It's like learning to transform a potentially painful experience into a growth opportunity. The transformation begins with acceptance. Instead of fighting loneliness, seeing it as something to be corrected or avoided, you can begin to face it with curiosity. What is it trying to teach you? What aspect of yourself is asking for attention? What change in your life is being signaled through this withdrawal? Our psychological symptoms are frequently clumsy attempts by the psyche to heal us. Loneliness can be a symptom that you need to reconnect with yourself, that you've been living too externally focused and lost touch with your inner world. Viewed this way, it becomes an ally, not an enemy. Chosen solitude requires rituals and practices that honor this sacred space. It can be through meditation, reflective writing, contemplative walking, art as soul expression. What's important is that they be activities that connect you with deeper layers of yourself, that allow you to explore internal territories that normally remain unexplored. A powerful practice is active imagination, a process of consciously dialoguing with images and symbols that emerge from your unconscious. It's as if you became an explorer of your own inner world, mapping psychological territories that are unique to you. Chosen solitude is also a time to process experiences, to integrate lessons, to give meaning to what you've lived. Our culture keeps us so busy that we rarely have time to truly digest our experiences. Chosen solitude offers this digestive space, where you can extract wisdom from your mistakes, celebrate your victories genuinely, and plan your next steps based on real self-knowledge. But perhaps the most transformative aspect of chosen solitude is the opportunity to practice self-compassion. When you're alone with yourself, you can finally stop judging yourself so harshly, comparing yourself to others, demanding impossible perfection from yourself. You can treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a dear friend going through difficulties. Chosen solitude teaches you that you're interesting company for yourself. You discover that your thoughts are rich, that your emotions are complex and valid, that your imagination is vast. You realize you don't need constant external validation to feel valuable, that you can find within yourself a source of contentment that's independent of external circumstances. With time, chosen solitude becomes a refuge, a place you can always return to when you need to reconnect with your essence. It becomes a valuable skill in a society that's always trying to distract you from yourself. It becomes a form of resistance against the culture of superficiality and compulsive connection. The greatest psychological growths are frequently preceded by periods of isolation, not by choice, but by necessity. It's as if life conspired to create situations where you have no choice but to turn inward, where external structures that gave you security temporarily crumble. The truth about your solitude is that it's frequently the harbinger of rebirth. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness to germinate, just as a caterpillar must completely dissolve in the chrysalis to become a butterfly, you sometimes must go through periods of apparent disintegration to emerge as a more evolved version of yourself. This process isn't comfortable or linear. There are moments when you might feel lost, as if you'd lost your identity, as if you no longer knew who you are. But Jung understood that this confusion is a natural part of the transformation process. It's as if you were being dismantled to be reassembled according to a more authentic blueprint. Isolation during this period serves as a protective cocoon, a space where metamorphosis can happen without external interference. It's important not to rush this process, not to try to force quick resolution. Psychological transformation has its own timing, its own wisdom, its own need for maturation. During this period, you might experience what Jung called loss of persona, that social mask you use to interact with the world. It can be disorienting to realize that much of what you believed to be you were just roles you'd learned to play. But this loss is necessary so you can discover who you really are beneath all these layers. Rebirth through isolation doesn't mean you emerge as a completely different person. It means you emerge as a more integrated, more authentic, more self-aware version of yourself. It's as if you'd collected all the scattered fragments of your personality and reorganized them in a more harmonious way. This process also develops an essential quality for psychological maturity, the ability to be alone without feeling lonely. You discover you can be your own company, that you can find meaning and purpose independently of external circumstances. This doesn't mean you don't value relationships, but that you don't depend on them to feel complete. Rebirth through isolation also awakens what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to synthesize apparently opposite elements of your personality into a higher unity. You learn to integrate your light and shadow, your strength and vulnerability, your individuality, and your connection to something greater. When you finally emerge from this period of transformative isolation, You don't return to the world as the same person. You return with wisdom that can only be acquired through direct experience of your own unconscious. You return with confidence that doesn't depend on external approval, with peace that can't be disturbed by temporary circumstances. But perhaps most importantly, you return with the understanding that solitude isn't your enemy. It's one of your greatest allies in the process of spiritual growth. You learn to honor it, respect it, use its transformative power consciously. You become someone who can be alone without feeling abandoned, who can find richness in silence, who can use isolation as a tool for self-knowledge. If you've made it this far, it's because something within you recognized the truth in these words. The solitude you've experienced isn't a failure, isn't punishment, isn't something that urgently needs correcting. It's a call from your soul for a deeper encounter with yourself. One of Jung's most important discoveries was that authentic spiritual growth frequently requires periods of conscious isolation. It's in solitude that you can strip away social masks, confront your shadow, hear the wisdom of silence, and emerge as a more integrated and authentic version of who you've always been. But remember, there's a difference between solitude as escape and solitude as a growth tool. The first is reactive, based on fear and resistance. The second is proactive, based on curiosity and courage. The first diminishes you. The second expands you. The hidden truth behind your solitude is that it's necessary for you to become who you really are. It's the sacred space where your individuation can happen, where you can integrate all aspects of your personality, where you can develop an authentic relationship with yourself. So next time you feel alone, remember, you're not being punished. You're being invited. Invited on a journey of self-knowledge that can transform not only your relationship with yourself, but your entire life experience. Solitude is the laboratory where you can experiment with being truly yourself. It's the sanctuary where you can honor your sensitivity, explore your creativity, and discover talents that were dormant. It's the space where you can heal old wounds, forgive past mistakes, and plant seeds for a more authentic future. Don't flee from your solitude. Don't see it as a problem to be solved. See it as a gift to be unwrapped, a mystery to be explored, a path to be walked. Because it's through it that you can discover the most important truth of all, that you are enough, that you are complete, that you carry within you everything you need to live a full and meaningful life. Solitude is your laboratory of self-knowledge, your sanctuary of spiritual growth, your path back home, to the home that is yourself. Honor it, embrace it, use it consciously, because it's not just necessary, it's sacred. If this video resonated with you, if you understood that your solitude is a call to grow, leave a comment saying, "I choose to embrace my solitude," and share this content with someone who also needs to hear this message. Your journey of self-knowledge can inspire others to embrace their own. Remember, you're not alone in your solitude. You're in the company of your soul, and that's the most valuable company you can have. We'll see each other in the next video, where we'll continue exploring the mysteries of the human psyche through Carl Jung's wisdom.